Hello, welcome to Spread Book Joy. Today I'm talking about the FOMO Book Club pick for the next 2 months, which is I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. FOMO Book Club is the book club set up by myself, Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, and Jem from Gem of Books to read those books that we feel we missed out on, and this is one of them. So what is I Capture the Castle? I didn't want to read too much about it because I wanted to go into it blind. So in terms of the story and the plot and what happens, I only know the basic premise. But I found out some interesting things about Dodie Smith and this book that I thought I should mention on here. I Capture the Castle was published in 1949. Dodie Smith is most well known now for being the writer of 101 Dalmatians, which is a childhood classic. Disney turned it into a huge franchise now, and I loved that book when I was younger, and I loved the follow-up, which was called The Twilight Barking or The Starlight Barking. I can never remember what this follow-up was called, but I remember reading it and loving it when I was a kid. I didn't realise that she'd written this seminal coming-of-age novel. I Capture the Castle is the story of an eccentric English family living in a crumbling old rundown castle in Suffolk, and it's told through the eyes of the younger daughter. There's father is a playwright who's not written a play in years. Mother is an ex-artist model, so they're probably from quite a glamorous artistic kind of background, and there are the two daughters. I can't remember what the older daughter's called, but the younger daughter, Cassandra, is 17 at the time the book starts, and she is the narrator of this book. So when it was published in 1949, it was an instant bestseller, and the background to it is quite interesting. So Dodie Smith, I didn't realise, was a playwright in the 1920s and 30s, I believe. She was a hugely successful playwright here in the UK. And at the outbreak of the Second World War, her husband was a pacifist, and they decided to go and live in America. I'm assuming this is an assumption by me because he didn't want to be drafted, and they went to live in America. And they stayed there. They ended up staying there far longer than they'd wanted to. And Smith missed London painfully, and she missed England painfully. And she remembered this castle from when she lived in Suffolk, or when she used to walk past this castle she'd seen in Suffolk. And she used to imagine what kind of family might live in there. And that was where the inspiration for I Capture the Castle comes from. It's that she also had lots of really strong memories of what it's like to be a 17-year-old on the brink of adulthood. So I Capture the Castle is a combination of Dodie Smith's nostalgia and homesickness and her sort of need to write about this period of her life that she remembered so well. So when it was released in 1949, it was an instant bestseller. Mothers passed it down to daughters. It's that kind of book that was sort of life-changing and massively significant for a huge number of people. I'm just going to read a little bit from the introduction for you now. The London publication in 1949 took it straight to the top of the bestseller lists. 2 responses to her novel were particularly pleasing to Dodie. One was that of Christopher Isherwood, one of the friends she had made during her years in America, who had come to depend on her critical advice about his own novels. He responded with a treasured letter. "To say I couldn't put it down is hardly original, but true. Your tremendous strength is detail. It is like a really good carving. The more you look at it, the more you see. I think it is a book that will be very much lived in by many people because you can live in it, like Dickens," which I thought was a really lovely quote. And then it said, by the time that Dodie died in 1990, aged 94, she was probably more popularly known for the 101 Dalmatians, thanks to Disney's cartoon film. But when embarking on Dodie's biography in the mid-1990s, I kept being told by people that I Capture the Castle had been a seminal book in their lives. And then she goes on to mention some things which might be spoilers, so I'm not going to read them all out, but she mentioned Antonia Fraser, said it was a seminal book in her life. Armistead Maupin, I don't know how to pronounce that, I never know how to pronounce it, Armistead Maupin, or Maupin, whose English grandmother had given him the book when he was a boy in the American Deep South, paid homage to it by organising his 1993 novel Maybe the Moon along Cassandra's shilling notebook lines. It was a favourite book of Joanna Trollope and her daughters, and when J.K. Rowling erupted onto the literary scene with Harry Potter, she too named I Capture the Castle as the influential book of her youth. But its charm defies classification into reader age groups. I read it aloud to my daughters before their teens, but also gave copies to several men of 60 or more who were astonished to find themselves beguiled by the sharp wit and perception of Cassandra. I have never met a reader who wanted the story to end. So there you go. That is I Capture the Castle. If you'd like to join Alice, Gemma and myself and a group of amazing readers who've all joined us on Discord to read the book, feel free. I'm going to leave a link in the description box to the Discord server if you want to join that. I'm not a fan of Discord. I'll pop in on there and chat about it a little bit, but we're also going to be doing a live show discussing the book at the end of December over on Alice's channel, and we'd love you to come along and watch and submit questions for it or your thoughts on the book, which we'll read out as well. So there are two ways that you can sort of join in on this, or you can just read the book. I mean, you don't have to give us your thoughts on it, you don't have to talk to anybody about it, but I think this is going to be a great book that we're all going to love. So if you want to join, check out the description box for how to do so.